Welcome to Larry the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, let's discuss Queensryche and their 1986 second studio album, Rage for Order. Originally, I was preparing to do a video on their first full-length studio album, The Warning, and I listened to it a bunch of times, and then I thought, you know what, I just want to listen to Rage for Order here, just to break it up a little. And when I listened to Rage for Order, I realized how much more I like this album more than their first full length. Although on this album I do appreciate the classic metal vibe to it and the dark vibe to a lot of the songs, I just think the songwriting came together way better here on Rage for Order, as did the production. So the album is produced by Neil Kernon, who has worked with everyone from Dokken to Cannibal Corpse to pop acts. And the album has a really warm, clear production to it, very clean. You know, you can hear everything. Everything is really in its place. And I think it serves the band really well. It fits the vibe of what Queensryche is for me, which is a very intelligent band, intelligent music. You could say progressive if you want to, but they're not really progressive in the sense of a lot of chops and crazy time signature changes and big long songs and stuff like that. It's more of in the concepts and the moods that they create. And I always get the feeling with Queensryche that everything is really thought out, everything sort of meticulously placed, the order of the songs, the way things happen within the songs. They don't strike me as like a haphazard jamming type of band. You know, it seems like they really put a lot of thought into the presentation, the sound, the songs, the lyrics. In a lot of ways, they're for me like a metal version of 80s Rush. Like maybe if Rush with, let's say, Signals or Grace Under Pressure went more in a metal direction, it would, make me think kind of Queensryche. What also makes me think of that is, and I kind of forgot about this when I was revisiting this record, there's a surprising amount of keyboards on here, and I really think it's to good effect. It really adds to the atmosphere and the kind of sci-fi futuristic vibe that this album has for me. And even if you look at their pictures on the back, you can see that they're trying to portray a more sophisticated, more intelligent. It has a little bit of a futuristic sci-fi feel to what their look is, and just the way the album cover and everything. And I think that really comes through here on all fronts, and the keyboards just add to that. The keyboards are played by the producer Neil Kernon. Now, Queensryche, I did a video on Operation Mindcrime, and Rage for Order for me is like that step towards Operation Mindcrime. In some ways, for me, those albums very sonically and in the songwriting and everything feel very similar. I'll leave a link to my Operation Mindcrime video down below. It's the classic Queensryche lineup here. Jeff Tate, lead vocals. For me, he is one of the great metal singers of the 80s. He has this very pure operatic tenor voice. You almost never really hear Jeff do anything like gravelly or aggressive with his voice. It's very operatic. It's very bell-like and clean. It just cuts through the mix, and he just sounds incredible on this. His range and the tone of his voice just totally works for this, and without question, one of the greatest natural, pure singers in heavy metal, in my opinion. Again, very sort of classical and operatic with his very, very open, wide, powerful, clean tenor voice. The guitars, Chris DeGarmo and Michael Wilton. The tones are great, the playing is great. Again, it's very thought out. The harmonies that they put in here with the guitars, the layering of the guitars, the guitar solos. It's very, I know they would start to more Pink Floyd references by the time they got to Empire, but even here, the soloing is very melodic. It very fits the song. Never sounds like they're just sort of throwing their fingers all over the neck or anything. It just sounds, very calculated and fits the songs very well. Eddie Jackson, in my opinion, is a great bass player. He has a fantastic bass sound, and it really stands out in the mix. It sits, I shouldn't say it stands out, it sits really, really well in the mix. And he has a lot of cool, subtle, little creative things that he does to add to the songs. Again, it's not like anything over the top or anything, but it's just very creative, adds to the song. And Scott Rockenfield, he's a great drummer, and he has a very unique drum sound too, especially the snare drum sound. And this is in a good way. Sometimes, hello, Lars Ulrich, if your snare drum stands out too much, it can be distracting, but that's not the case here. I think his drums sound great. They're very punchy, and his snare just really cuts through without being, obnoxious or distracting. I love the, and again, I mentioned the whole album and the look of the band and the production and the keyboards give it this sort of futuristic sci-fi technology thing, and in the lyrics, some of the songs also give off that vibe, this apocalyptic sort of future theme to some of them, like New Regal. I'm sure I'm not saying that correctly, which from what I researched means new order or rule in German. Screaming in Digital. The lyrics in this are almost like futuristic, like they were seeing the future. Here it's like talking about like computers and AI, artificial intelligence taking over. If like they were seeing into the future here with our cell phones and the internet and everything consuming our lives. That's kind of what this song, the lyrics in this song make me think of. And again, the music also plays into the vibe of the lyrics. I'll say that about Queensryche too. Their music really fits and goes well with the lyrics. They work hand in hand. It doesn't sound like the guys just had riffs and Jeff Tate just threw lyrics on it. It seems like it was a collaborative thing, like they had a concept to it, and they would take this one step further, of course, with the next album, Operation Mindcrime. But the lyrics and the music here just work so well together. There's songs with great catchy choruses like Walk in the Shadow, The Killing Words. Again, this is for me what makes this album much better, in my opinion, than The Warning, is the songwriting. These songs they're very catchy. There's a lot of hooks, but there's a lot of creative, interesting things going on. Again, I mentioned Operation Mindcrime, so you get some shades of what's to come with Operation Mindcrime with some songs on here. Like for me, Chemical Youth, We Are Rebellion. It's got those big mob gang vocals kind of shouting in the back of the verse, and then in the chorus, that really makes me think of an Operation Mindcrime type of thing. Surgical Strike has a fast, up-tempo classic metal vibe to it. To me, could have been on Operation Mindcrime, maybe a little harking back to like where they came from with the Warning and their influences like Iron Maiden and new wave of British heavy metal. Gonna Get Close to You, which is a cover song actually, and it's originally done by Lisa Del Bello. I had never heard the cover version of this before. I listened to it before I made this video, and I'm usually somebody who doesn't like when a band does a cover song, but I like when bands do songs that are outside of the genre that they're in. In other words, I don't need to hear people doing War Pigs or Born to Be Wild or things like that. I like when a band goes outside of their genre, like Judas Priest did with Green Manalishi or Diamonds and Rust. And here they're sort of doing the same thing. The Lisa Del Bello version, if you've never heard it, it's a very kind of sounds to me like an 80s, kind of synth pop type of thing. It's got a kind of a dark vibe to it. The lyrics are kind of reminds me of like Every Breath You Take by The Police. The lyrics kind of sound romantic if you're just reading them, but when you put the music in there, it has, a little bit of a dark vibe. Also reminds me of Peter Gabriel, Intruder. That song, which is a super cool song. Primus did a cover of that song, and again, it sort of has the same vibe to it, like somebody being stalked, that kind of thing to it. And the Lisa DeBello version, it has that vibe to it, but Queensryche really hones in on that and plays that and really brings that out. It makes this really sort of ominous and creepy and stalking and you know, just a sort of scary, unsettling vibe to it, and it works really, really well. They really put their own kind of touch on it, and it's great. I love when bands do covers like this, take something, twist it around, and make it their own. There's some slower, more moody and atmospheric numbers on here, like the song London, and the dark ballad that closes the album, I Will Remember, which I just love with the clean acoustic guitar stuff. Is just fantastic. Both those songs solely written by Chris DeGarmo. Most of the other songs are written between 2 or 3 or 4 of the guys in the band. So, all right, there you go. Queensryche, Rage for Order. Just a great album. For me, a big step from The Warning and setting them up for what's to come with Operation Mindcrime and Empire. This is them really finding their sound, their songwriting chops, the production, what they're going to be about. So let me know what you guys think of Rage for Order in the comments down below. And until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.